shows. This is Jenny Hudson bringing you the Author Connection, and we are the voice of independent authors. Tonight I am proud to have Michael Hartigan with us, and Michael is the winner of Merrimack Media's 2015 Outstanding Writer Contest, and he won with a really great novel called Stone Angels, and he's here to tell you all about it. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, Michael is a Boston boy. You grew up here, so tell us about growing up in this area and maybe how that influenced your book.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in Saugus, which is a little bit north of Boston. I grew up there. I went to school in Danvers, Massachusetts, a little further up the North Shore. I've been have friends from all over, so I grew up pretty much all over Massachusetts, and really it influenced me in a way that there's a lot of grit and pride in Massachusetts communities, and
Yes.
I like to sort of weave that into my writing. I think it can come through pretty easily when you read my writing.
Yeah, no, it did. And I know that Stone Angels takes you to Providence,
Mhm.
and you went to college in Providence, is that
Yes.
right?
Yep, I went to Providence College.
So this is a firsthand, scene setting for a book, and it comes through very true. So the book, Stone Angels, is, I would say it's a literary novel,
Mhm.
and it's certainly about guilt.
Mhm.
But what can you tell us about the story, and
Sure.
what would you like to say?
Well, I think it in itself, it's about guilt. It's about a young man who's dealing with some extreme guilty conscience for
Yeah.
some things that he did in college. He's a college student at Providence College, like you mentioned. But it also is a redemption story in that he's trying to outrun some of the past things that he's done, and trying to get away from that guilt. But he ultimately realizes that he needs to sort of face it and make a decision whether he should confess to what he's done or sort of hide it away for the rest of his life.
So I love the way that the story opens, and you don't know what he's done, but you get that he
Mhm.
is starting to deal with his demons, and the main character's name is Augustine.
Yeah.
And how did he take form in your mind? Where did the story come from?
The story took form a long time ago, about 10 years ago when I was at Providence College. I started writing little vignettes and little stories about different things that I saw, or all fiction, of course, but exaggerated events or scenes that I was at. And then I ultimately realized I was writing about the same person. I was writing about the same characters, and they all sort of fit together in a narrative that I didn't think I had intentionally done at the beginning, but they all sort of came together.
So when did you realize that these stories were going to fit together to make a novel, and how did you form that plot? It's really it's very intricate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very unique in the sense that it's a very personal and intimate story for
Mm-hmm.
the main character. It's told in the first person, and you really get into his mind. And I think it partially comes from I was an English and a psychology major, and so
Uh-huh.
I like to sort of combine those two things in the best way that I could. It was fiction writing.
So there are characters in this book that I kind of considered good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the title is Stone Angels.
Right.
So how did you come up with the title, and how do you deal with the evil and the good
Yeah.
and all that?
Well, the title actually went through quite a bit of changes over the last 10 years.
Oh,
Over
really?
the last
So
decade.
how did it
It
start?
started off as I had named it Veritas, which is the Latin slogan for Providence College.
Oh, really?
In truth and.
Oh, that's a good title,
so,
actually.
Yeah, and it went through several changes to Confession and Augustine's Confession and different things like that.
That's good too.
I arrived at Stone Angels, I think, because it sort of there are a few scenes in the book where angels feature prominently, and I really liked the symbolism of this young man, Augustine, who's trying to find his way, and we typically think of angels as being guardians or guides, and he doesn't necessarily see that. So
He doesn't see it. What about Lily? Do you think she's an angel?
I think, yes, in this book, he's her angel, or she's his angel, I'm sorry. And to him, she's a way for him to sort of really find his place at college, and she becomes a sort of a beacon for him.
Lily, for those of you who have not had the privilege to read this book yet, is a wonderfully drawn female college student who is just totally brought to life, and you really feel her presence, and I love the way you developed her. So was she like the conglomeration of people who you knew?
Bits and pieces of various characters come from bits and pieces of friends or family people that I know. I think a lot of writers will tell you that they do that, or maybe they'll tell you they don't and they actually do.
Oh, you have to.
You have to, and
yeah.
I think it makes it more real that way. But
Right.
I was I know a lot of very good female friends at college who are very strong women, and my wife being one of them now, who I met at college.
Oh, really?
And, a very strong woman, and at that sort of, but vibrant and fun, and that's sort of who Lily is in this story, to really sort of bring Augustine out of his funk that he's in at the beginning of the book.
Yeah, and then he's in another funk.
Yes.
So, right.
There's a lot of those in this.
A lot of funks, yeah.
Yes.
But it's not a downer book. I mean, it's very thought-provoking. So, and I liked his friends too. I felt that they were very real, and I felt that they must have been drawn from, a pack of friends that, you have in college.
Yeah, well, I actually, the spine of the base of the book is, of the plot revolves around a road trip that this group of friends takes, and during this road trip, the main character's remembering back to the things that happen, and it sort of drives the plot along. But I actually made that road trip myself with a group of friends.
Oh, really?
In college, yes,
Really?
from Rhode Island to Florida. So that a lot of those memories of sitting in a car for 24 hours sort of fueled a lot of the descriptions in the book.
Ouch. And hopefully you didn't run out of gas. Like
No,
in the book.
no.
Okay,
Luckily,
good.
we didn't. Run out of gas.
Right.
We did get lost. A friend of mine got us lost in Pennsylvania at one point, but I left that out of the book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So.
that's probably good. So, yeah, no, it's just about a perfect book. And I know it's getting a lot of good attention.
Mhm.
So where have you've had some articles, and you have some coming up? Want to
Yep,
talk about that?
my hometown Saugus, the Saugus Advertiser, a great local writer, journalist, Kate Evans, wrote a story, appeared last week in the Saugus Advertiser, and the other local paper, The Advocate, actually read and reviewed the book and gave it some good reviews, very good
That's
reviews. And I've done a few other interviews in the last few days, which will be hopefully appearing in some papers over the next couple of weeks.
Well, I know, we're planning on announcing it soon too.
Mhm.
Tomorrow, actually. I was waiting to get the show, and so I'm very excited about your book. And did you expect that you might win? What was it like, and what has your journey been?
Sure.
Because-
I didn't expect it at all. As I said, this book was a long time in the making, and sort of was put down for a long time and then picked back up and dusted off every once in a while. And I think last summer, I had some time to really sit down and look at it. And just this past winter, a colleague of mine mentioned that she got your email about the contest. She's on your mailing list at Merrimack Media, and we had been talking about writing, and she said, I just got an email about this contest. Why don't you send in? So on a whim, I said, hey, why not? No better time than the present to see how my writing stacks up
Right.
against others. And I didn't expect it to make the final list, and then I did not expect at all to get your email and phone call about winning. And I think I was extremely surprised and happy.
Yeah, and you've kind of run with it too. I know you've done a lot of exciting things. Where's your bookmark?
Nope.
Yep. We have the book, we have the bookmark, we have a website, we've got all kinds of ways to
Facebook
get...
and Twitter and all the
Yes.
social media push.
Right. So you're on your way.
Hopefully. I've been writing my whole life, and this isn't the first contest I've won, I must admit. I was in elementary school, and a local dentist gave a writing contest, and I wrote a short essay, and I won a bicycle. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. So you're not the first contest I've won.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
sorry to say, but
I'm heartbroken.
but yeah.
that's very validating for me,
Yes.
actually.
But I've always enjoyed writing, and I really, there's no other experience than being able to sort of just let your mind wander, and once you get over that hump of starting writing, I don't know many writers that like to start on a blank page, but once you get into a story, there really is no other feeling like being able to create.
So that is a great segue to my next question, because I was wondering how you write, because you have a full-time job, and I'm sure it keeps
Yes.
you really busy.
Sure.
And I know you have an adorable little girl and a wife.
Yes.
So how do you keep yourself writing, and what is your schedule like? How do you write?
Sure. I'm not sure about other writers or anything like that, but I don't think my style is too typical. I don't have storyboards laid out or big notes or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when an idea pops into my head, I like to text message it to myself or email it to myself, or I'll just be sitting there and write out some notes or language that I like, and then either after work, a lot of times at night after the baby goes to sleep, or on weekends, early mornings. I love writing in the morning, sitting with a cup of coffee and writing. So you find time, make time for it, and sometimes it's tough, but if you enjoy doing it, it's worth doing.
To me, writing in the early morning is the closest that I am to my sleep state.
Yeah.
And I always feel that my subconscious is more accessible.
Yeah.
So I think that there's something to it.
Mm-hmm. There's a quietness, I think, sometimes if you get up early enough, and there's sort of a silence, I guess isn't the right word, but there's a little bit of a peace of mind early in the morning like that, where you can sort of get things going on writing. And
the text message thing is very great. I've done emails to myself, I know,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
you can also dictate. Do you ever do that?
I have. I tried, and I a little bit. It worked a little bit, but I went back to texting and emailing myself. So, or other people I knew that would get the message and then send it back to me.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
That's really great. So, and what about your professional life? I know that you are pretty busy. What do you do? Tell everyone.
Well, I'm the communications director for United States Congresswoman Nikki Tsongas. She's out of Lowell, Massachusetts. I started with her about 3 years ago. I was living in Washington, D.C. My wife and I had moved down there. My wife got a job at the National Cancer Institute. So we moved down there, and I started with the Congresswoman. And we just moved back last summer. My wife got a job at Bentley University. So we sort of, she's the smart one in the family. So we move along, obviously. So we moved back to Massachusetts, and it actually, in some of that moving time, I did have some downtime like I said, to sort of get back into the book, which was great. But yeah, the job keeps me very busy, but it also, the Congresswoman's been very supportive of my writing and things like that, and always a lot of good opportunities to, to write for my job as well. So it keeps me writing.
So how does that influence your writing, if at all? Because you do write professionally, you write press releases and things like that.
Yes, I think it actually, I've been in public relations and communications for since I graduated in 2005. So it's actually, I think it's helped my writing in a lot of ways. It's helped me streamline, be a lot more concise and clear in what I say. And sometimes you can get too caught up in some flowery descriptive language, and then you have to step back and say, you know what, we need to cut through and really get down to what this sentence or this paragraph was all about. And I think
so do you write straight and go back and edit later, or
I'll usually sit and write, and then I'll go back and usually get lost in the editing.
Yeah.
But
right. That's a great thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great way to start moving forward too.
Yeah,
You kind of
absolutely.
refresh yourself.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's terrific. So, are you working on anything new, or are you kind of writing this one out, or what are you working on?
Yeah, I have a couple of other book projects in the works, and I'm debating if one of them is going to be a sequel to Stone Angels or not. I'm not sure. It could be one or the other.
Oh,
so I'm not
you can't
quite
leave
sure.
us hanging with Augustine.
So we'll see. There could be a sequel in the works, but I have a few different projects that I'm working on. I also do a lot of other types of writing on my own. I do travel writing. I write a monthly column for some newspapers and a magazine, and I also wrote some children's books.
Really?
So, they're not published. They're just published myself for. I wrote them for my daughter for Christmas, and but. So that's something fun that I like to do. I've done the last 2 years. I've written a children's book, picture book for her for Christmas.
And I bet you illustrated it, didn't you?
Funny, the first book I did, I used pictures and graphics, and the second book last year, my mother actually did the illustrations
Oh,
for.
my goodness.
So it was sort of a family project that her and I
that's
put
so
together.
Nice. What's the book about?
It's called Daddy Dressed Me, and it's about a fashionably challenged father who puts his daughter in some pretty funny outfits, and she ultimately enjoys them much more than the boring ones. And that one's much more biographical than Stone Angels is. So.
Yeah.
So.
That sounds adorable.
Yeah.
No,
It's nice.
that's
It's
great.
fun.
Great. So we have just a few more minutes to talk. So what have I not asked you that you might like to talk about?
I could just read the book, but no. Well, the book, I think, it's about, like we mentioned, it's about guilt and about redemption. But I also think there's some action in the book. I don't want to have it come across as being very heavy and weighty of a book that someone's going to feel depressed about, because I think it does have a lot of, it has some action, and it has some good scenes that really drive the plot forward and keep it fast paced. And I've had, in the past few weeks, some people have read the book and told me that they've read it in, 24 hours or, just a couple of days.
Yeah.
So, and that's good in my point of view, because I like to, have some really sincere and serious themes, but be able to make it entertaining.
Well, I think that's what makes a bestseller.
I would love to see that
Yeah.
name on top of my book.
Me too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So where can people find it?
Find the book at Amazon.com and Kindle, or at the website stoneangelsbook.com, and we're also on Facebook and Twitter at Stone Angels Book.
Very, very good. And I know Michael's going to be around doing lunches, and I know he's available for book signings and
Yep, absolutely. We'll be at in some of my hometown. There'll be a couple of events coming up in September. A Founders Day event where we'll be there with selling the book, and then putting together an author's night at the local library, and reaching out to some other towns right now to set up some events. But available to chat with anybody that would love to chat further, interviews or Q&As, and to chat or to just sit and talk about the book.
That is great. So thank you very much. And I am going to now introduce Malka Ahmed, and she is our book reviewer, and she does a weekly segment, and she's going to be coming up here in just a second.
Hey everyone, it's Malka again from contemporarybooks.com. I really enjoy being here on the Author Connection, taking time to tell you guys about some great books I come across on a weekly basis. As summer is winding down, I try and get to the beach as often as I can, and there's no better way to enjoy the beach than in the company of a good book. This week I have 2 books that are perfect for your next trip to the shore. 7 Cities Far From Sober is by author Sahana Mehra, and I just finished this book. This is a hilarious and adventurous thrill ride about friendship, traveling the world, finding love, and reconnecting with family. It features 2 unlikely friends, Sophie Anderson and Maddie Huntington Jones, who cross paths one fateful night and become lifelong friends. Each section of the book takes place in a different location, starting from their small affluent village of Soberton, England, all the way to Kyoto, Japan. And in between these places, the 2 women meet up in a different city for various reasons, including a bachelor party gone awry, drunken get-together with Maddie's older brother in Bangkok. And in each of these cities, misunderstandings and mishaps occur, as well as romance and bonding between two best friends. Sophie is a larger-than-life character, the rebel without a cause. Harboring the deep pain of being abandoned by a motherly figure in her life, she assumes the motherly role towards the hapless Maddie and a circle of colorful characters that they come across. Maddie, on the other hand, has low self-esteem stemming from the fact that her own family has it in abundance. She has been suffocating under the shadow of her beautiful mother and successful older brother, and she uses her trips abroad as a means for finding her own self. Both Sophie and Maddie trek their way through exotic destinations and come across colorful characters and situations that test their friendship. The duo's travels come with a lot of things many world travelers will identify with, including falling into tourist traps, language barriers, and delayed flights. There are also many anecdotes about the joys of traveling, such as meeting other travelers from other parts of the world and forming a connection that surpasses international borders. Sophie conceals her sensitive side with her rough exterior, and Maddie is hapless and always finds herself in trouble. But their misgivings make them very likable as characters. Although there are a lot of romantic elements to the story, Seven Cities Far From Sober is a good reminder that there are many types of love in this world, including the kind that you share with your best friend. There is no shortage of humor and adventure in this book. So step back, gobble up 400 plus pages, and meet new people, attend wild parties, and travel the world. Passport not required. Another great book that I came across this week is Joy Street, and this is by Russ Bubas. This is a fast-paced crime thriller about a private eye named Dan Hughes and an FBI agent named Bill Halloran. Both of these men team up and try to beat the mafia at their own game, and what starts out as the perfect crime ends up being a quick getaway to a job that leads to dire consequences. Grasping issues such as guilt, self-worth, and believe it or not, love. As an easy-breezy book, it still carries a lot of depth. The writing is sharp, dialogue is crisp, and all of the characters, including the minor ones, stand out very clearly. Taking place in Boston, Mass. And tropical Florida, the locations are also very vividly portrayed. So if you're a fan of The Sopranos, you'll love this book. Also, because of its length and fast pace, it's a great read for a beach day visit. So if you're in New England like I am, then you know our days in the sunshine and warm weather are numbered. So get out there, enjoy the sun, and enjoy these books. See you next time.